A year ago, I picked random stocks to invest in by throwing darts at my dartboard. After investing $1,000 into 7 companies, I also invested $1,000 into a total stock market index fund, which literally just buys every company in the entire stock market. It's been a 14-month competition through some truly crazy market swings, and now the time has come to choose a winner. Which investment strategy do you think came out on top and made more money? If you want to make an official guess and leave a comment right now before we get into the details, do it. But so you know, my guess was wrong. Okay, let's go. To get this started 14 months ago, I picked a bunch of random companies, I put them on my dartboard, and I threw darts. Those companies are Tesla, Atlantica Sustainable Infrastructure, Cincinnati Financial, Intel, Diamondback Energy, Sunnova Energy, and Johnson & Johnson. Of course, for this totally random individual stock picking, I chose to invest with Robinhood because it's the perfect place to recklessly choose individual stocks to speculate with. But it does give you a fairly nice looking breakdown, which you'll see in just a minute. As a group, those 7 companies make up a portfolio of investments that are 45% energy and water, 27% financial, 11% consumer goods, 10% healthcare, and 7% in tech, media, and telecom. The index fund that I chose to battle this group of 7 is VTI, which is the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index Fund. VTI is a one-stop shop to get the whole stock market in your investment portfolio in one simple step. Investing in VTI just instantly diversifies you a ton, and it's the opposite of a handful of individual stocks. It's something that gets recommended all the time, and it's like the gold standard. It's the responsible choice. It's the thing that the logical experts recommend. And it's something that I've recommended in the past too. Let's get on to the results. I have to admit here, I was feeling smug because I thought that the index fund was going to pull ahead and stay ahead and crush those 7 stocks for the whole time. And for the first few months, the difference between these 2 investments was definitely leaning in favor of the index fund. But then we hit 2022 and the tables turned. The dartboard of gains, as I called it, netted us a total gain of $179.67 on that $1,000 that we initially invested. Not too bad, almost 18%. The index fund only gained us $128.30. Those 7 companies made almost 18% versus almost 13% from the index fund. That is a pretty big difference. If that spread continued for the next 30 years, the difference would have grown to huge amounts. Let's pretend like I left this money invested and it kept performing the same way. Then in 30 years, I decide to make another video and check on the status. Well, VTI, without adding another dime and left to grow at the same rate it did for me here in this experiment, would balloon all the way up to $44,134. Pretty nice for a $1,000 investment. But the dartboard of gains, continuing at the rate it did here, would rocket all the way up to $169,130. That's like $125,000 more, almost 4 times more. That's insane. Is that outcome possible though? Like if I left this alone, would I really end up with that much money? Well, maybe. We do only have 7 companies on that awesome rocket ship of a dartboard, which is very risky in the scheme of things. If 1 or 2 of them continue to crush it over the next 30 years, that awesome outcome could really happen. Who knows? But the point of the index fund on the other side is to diversify what we invest in and in turn limit that risk of loss. With something like VTI or other big stock market index funds, as long as the market overall is going up, we should continue to see a profit. Should. We didn't, but that's what should happen. And I'm torn seeing these results because a year ago, I might have explained that the takeaway is to just choose an index fund. Limit the potential loss. Don't be silly. This is a ridiculous experiment, and I'm going to prove to you that there's no way that this would make any sense. Or if nothing else, I think I'd hoped that I would prove to you that maybe by throwing darts at a dartboard, I could outperform your stock picks. So let me know in a comment if that's also what happened. But lately, I've had a change of heart because I've been reading Morgan Housel's book, which is called The Psychology of Money. And this week, it's been kind of blowing my mind because it talks about the outsized role that luck plays in our success. Bill Gates, for example, was incredibly lucky to go to the school that he did. For one thing, they had an incredible computer there that he and his friends just got access to whenever they wanted. It was super expensive. It was super rare. This was like the 70s. That just didn't happen back then. The odds of a kid in that day and age growing up with a computer like that was almost literally 1 in a million. But it worked out for him. He even said in an interview that if he hadn't gone to Lakeside, his school, there would be no Microsoft today. By sheer dumb luck, he ended up with that kind of a fortunate situation. And maybe you can pick a company that is also 1 in a million and they become responsible for the bulk of your investment gains. It's possible. Who am I to tell you to not go after those gains? If you want to know what I would do personally, I still feel fairly strongly that I would rather make a moderate gain while limiting my chances of big losses though. I highly doubt that I would see a 50% gain in a single year if I invested in VTI, like ever. And that's okay with me. I'm not looking for a 50% gain necessarily, because the flip side of that expectation in thinking that you would get a 50% gain is the possibility of a 50% loss or even bigger. It may not be as exciting, but that's what I'm going after. So what's the takeaway here? What do we learn from this very ridiculous dart throwing experiment? Well, maybe the takeaway is to recognize that even if we do what's statistically proven to be the right answer, the expertly chosen, logical thing that should outperform everybody else, well, sometimes dumb luck intervenes and it does something unexpected and you make 18% on some random stocks. I think that silly potential for gain there is part of what makes the adventure of investing so interesting. What's also interesting is having a secret comment word. Today, the secret comment word is DART. If you enjoyed the video or you made it this far, leave me a comment with the word DART in it, or leave me a little DART emoji, because I'll keep an eye out for these, as they are my favorite comments by far. Did I get a bullseye yet? I'm not even looking. I did get a bullseye! Check it out! That's awesome. If you want to see the previous 2 videos in this series where I set this whole thing up, you can. They're fairly terrible, but they're linked in the description in case you want to see those. But something else that's probably more worth your time is along the same vein as this video. This was the worst way to invest, though ironically it turned out to be a better way to invest. But what about the services you can use to invest with? What's the worst investing app and what's the best? Tap here to find out.